chiropractic, we often talk about paradigm shifts, and usually in the context of everyone else needing to have one. The community needing to comprehend wellness, the scientific community needing to comprehend the way that we do things, the medical community needing to become more vitalistic and holistic. But perhaps it's us that needs a paradigm shift. You see, chiropractic in a lot of ways has devolved from those earlier philosophically rich days of being vitalistic, above down, inside out principles, now to being a very mechanistic, musculoskeletal, orthopedically dominated profession. But at the same time that this has happened, pure sciences like physics have evolved from Newtonian mechanistic physics to quantum physics. So quantum physics is a term often used in chiropractic circles in an almost cliched fashion, without any real comprehension that if you really delve into the theories and findings of the quantum world, you will see that chiropractic is now further from being quantum in nature than it was way back in 1914 and especially 1927. So the material that I'm going to share with you this year will help to get us back on track, but only if you're willing to let go of some of the disproven, inadequate principles and merge quantum principles into your beliefs and your behaviours. So we're going to be studying some of the fundamental theorems of quantum physics, otherwise known as quantum mechanics, and in some cases we're going to actually learning from the actual scientists that have generated these breakthroughs. We're going to meet Albert Einstein, of course, and the theory of special relativity and how this changed everything we know about the makeup of the universe, how it broke down the uncrossable divide between matter and energy, and at the same time revealed the necessary third dimension that makes life tick. We're going to look at the experiments that led to a lot of these breakthroughs, the double slit experiment that perplexed physicists for so many decades. We're going to meet Niels Bohr and Erwin Schrödinger, and the double slit experiment that still perplexes many physicists today. And we're going to see how matter can behave like energy and energy can behave like matter. And we'll also come across the observer effect that can dramatically change the way that things work depending on who is watching and what they want to see. We'll meet Stephen Hawking and learn about his attempts to discard the most important constant in the universe, information, intelligence, and how this attempt thankfully failed and future physicists were able to dispel his theory about how information was losable, could vanish and disappear as it entered a black hole. And we'll see how this battle has seen physics spread its wings into areas of psychology, parapsychology, transcendental meditation, biology, engineering, architecture, and now, hopefully with your help, chiropractic too. We'll comprehend quantum entanglement and how this explains so much of what we see in the function of the nervous system. In intercellular communication and even healing, and even unanswerable physics and biological phenomena like spooky action at a distance that Albert Einstein spent the last parts of his career trying to disprove and understand. Things like telepathy, intuition, and the unthinkable, how communication can even travel faster than the speed of light. We'll try to get our heads around Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and how this reveals a lot of the fraud that happens in medical science, and the conundrum that confronts natural healthcare research, how we can't research what we want to see using standard scientific principles. We have to be able to expand the way that we do things. And we're even going to reach into the fringes of quantum physics and quantum mechanics and the quantum world with characters like Rupert Sheldrake, and the idea of morphic resonance, and how DNA is only a tiny part of the evolutionary picture. And then we'll meet interesting physicists like Gerard Hooft and Leonard Susskind, and the holographic model of the universe, and how this changes everything we know about information storage and transmission, and has even expanded into the spiritual realms, explaining spiritual phenomena. So having explored these breakthroughs in pure science, we'll then travel back to 1914 and even 1927, and we're going to be faced with the fascinating revelation that D.D. Palmer and Stephenson's 33 principles were actually years ahead of their time. They might not even be called philosophical principles anymore. We could actually call them scientific principles. We'll see how these principles express beautifully many of the quantum mechanics theorems that have developed through the decades following the time when they were authored by D.D. and by Stephenson in 1927. We'll also see how the shift in quantum physics has influenced other scientific disciplines. You're going to hear from Karl Pribram about the holographic brain model and how this makes everything Stephenson and D.D. said so accurate. We're going to meet Buckminster Fuller, and we're going to see how an architectural breakthrough helped to explain the way that cellular and anatomical systems really work, and how that understanding helped to unwrap the structure and the function of so much in nature. And now, how nature is providing secrets to advanced design in engineering and biomedical realms, and we'll meet Donald Ingber. You'll learn about tensegrity and piezoelectricity and how integral these are to the tonal model of chiropractic, a neurological model of subluxation. And we'll hear from Candace Pert, the research pioneer who isolated the chemical constituents of our emotions and wrote and spoke so much about quantum principles as they relate to how we feel, think and behave, whose work gave birth to Psychoneuroimmunology. Then in the context of all of this great science, we're going to reconstruct our comprehension of chiropractic. We'll redefine the meaning of the term subluxation, and then we'll explore what action steps come about as a result of all of this change. At the end, we will come back to what we do in our adjusting rooms and see things with new eyes and do things with new hands. So to get started, I want to share with you a video of a cell biologist, Rupert Sheldrake, and you're going to really set the scene for what we're going to be doing this year. So Rupert was a biologist, and he's an author of more than 80 scientific papers, 10 books. He studied natural sciences at Cambridge University, studied philosophy and the history of science at Harvard. He's got his PhD from Cambridge in biochemistry. Since that time, he's worked in a diverse scientific area with a very productive career. He discovered the mechanism of polar oxygen transport. He developed cropping systems that are now widely used by farmers in the third world. And he's also branched into the areas of what some call parapsychology, but from more of a biological point of view, and explained things like intuition, telepathy, and a host of other interesting biological phenomena. In his most recent book, The Science Delusion, in the UK, and it's called The Science Set Free in the US, he examines the 10 dogmas of modern science and shows how they can be turned into questions that open up new vistas of scientific possibility. This book received the Book of the Year award from the British Scientific and Medical Network, but interestingly, Rupert's talk, when it was on the TED website, was taken down as being too controversial. So it's great stuff for us chiropractors to listen to and to set the scene for the rest of what we're going to be doing this year.